Thoughts this Christmas with hope, and it helps us to think a bit more about why on earth are we celebrating this bizarre story from 2,000 years ago of a child being born in a stable. First of all, can I say, I'm just so pleased that you decided to share some of your Christmas with us here at St John's. It's lovely to see you here. We do pray that you'll have a peaceful Christmas and whatever's going on in your life, that tonight might just help bring peace to you. And every year, as we think about Christmas, it gets harder to think about what is it that God's saying to us this year that we haven't heard before. And as I was thinking of praying maybe a few weeks ago, I was caught up with the lines of one of the carols that we've sung from a little town of Bethlehem. And the lines say this: "Be born in us today." What? Be born in us today. What does that mean? And what does that mean for us as we celebrate Christmas? First of all, let's remember that the story says that the Son of God is born in a messy stable. Even the crib that we've got here looks kind of quite clean and tidy, really. When you think that he was born in the back of an inn, in a smelly stable where the animals have been doing what animals do. We've got a new puppy, by the way, and the new puppy is a very good example of what animals do when they need to do it. And there they made the Son of God in a feeding trough. And that's where he was born. How weird is that? If I told you, actually, the Son of God is going to be born in your house, what would you be doing? Getting it ready. Getting it clean and tidy, making sure it's a good enough place. And sometimes I do think, at Christmas, we're kind of more worried, is our stables, are our stables good enough in the church? Are we better than the other stables and all that sort of stuff? But God was just looking for a place where he could be born, a place where he was welcome. Remember, there was no room in the inn where all the people were. God found a space round the back. A messy, filthy space. And I think when I started thinking about can Jesus be born in us, it actually helped me to think that actually if he be born in a messy, grotty old stable, then actually he can be born in my messy, grotty life. And I think we all feel a bit like that. Sometimes we're not good enough. And actually, well, the story says different. Jesus can be born in us today. Well, what would happen if he was born in us today? That would really change things, wouldn't it? It would really change us from the inside out. If Jesus was born in our hearts and started to work on us. We went to the theatre last night. Guess what we went to see? A pantomime. We did, but it wasn't a pantomime. So at that point I could say, I went to the pantomime, and you say, "Oh no, you didn't!" And you'd be right. Because actually, we went to the Garrick Theatre in Lichfield, and it wasn't a pantomime, it was a musical of the story of the Christmas Carol. And as you can imagine, on stage, there was some scenery of London, Victorian London. And there was, the backdrop was a kind of old streets with the various buildings, the odd signs of buildings, slightly dingy and dusty. Oh no, not this one, go back a minute. Don't worry about that. So we had, on our stage yesterday, was this dingy old London scene. And that set the story for Scrooge, and what Scrooge was like, and his dingy, dusty life. And of course, as the story changed, actually, the backdrops changed. All these different things come down from above, and slide in and out the sides. And you change the scene, so that at the end, you've got a man called Scrooge, who's so horrible, who's turned his life around, and he started to say, actually, I'm changed. He didn't change from the inside out in that story. And suddenly, it was a much brighter, nicer place to be. It ended up with them singing all sorts of Christmas songs, and it was very fun. I wonder if you've been to a pantomime this Christmas. Anyone been to a pantomime? Oh no, we haven't. Oh, okay. There's nothing you get to a pantomime in the church. We're a bunch of humbug, aren't we? Okay, here's the backdrop from a pantomime. What's the pantomime? Jack in the Beanstalk. Why did you say that? Because they were the giant. I don't think we can see a beanstalk in here. That's a giant. You've read the Jack. Okay, here's the next one. Aladdin. Why? Well, because there's a big lamp there. It's really easy to just looking at the scenery or the staging to tell what the story is. Okay, here's the next one. If it was a pantomime, which pantomime could it be? Very good. Dick Whittington, like it, London. But actually, this is a backdrop for something else for us, isn't it? Do you know which bit of London that is? The city, the banking also. That sets a backdrop for us at the moment, doesn't it? That's like another backdrop that's going on. But at the moment, it is affecting everything for us. We've got like it is on stage really in our lives. You've got these different parts, haven't you? The kind of the immediate bit, which could be, for us yesterday, was Scrooge's office. It was right at the front. And then you might have other bits of the story just a bit further back. And right at the back you've got the scenes in front of it, setting up the whole scene. I think our lives are a bit like that. I think there are different parts of our lives that are so close and imminent, they're right at the front, and that might be our family, our work, might be our financial problems at the moment. That could be right at the front. And maybe a bit further back down the stage, there is the bigger national issues that are going on. And maybe you've got other stories that kind of impinge on yours, and other families and other links. I suppose my question tonight is that it? Is that your stage that you live on? All the immediate stuff, and then the stuff that affects us nationally and maybe internationally. Is that your life? Or is there a bigger story that we can be parts of? Better time. Is there a bigger story going on? You see, we quite often in the church talk about the kingdom of God, but in a pantomime you might have the kingdom of, I don't know, the giant's kingdom, or in Cinderella you have the wicked witch's kingdom, or I can't remember. But then you quite often have, don't you, right at the back on the back of the stage, a castle on a hill or something like that. You know, as Christians we talk about God's kingdom. And not just as a far-off, wishful place, but actually a way of seeing life that actually enhances what's really true. The kingdom is a bit like the big picture. It's how things objectively, truly, and finally are. And Jesus comes inviting us to live in the final and full picture and not get lost in the momentary dramas or the hurts or our own agendas. I wonder if our backdrop is a bit like this. I am part of a failing world, and I refuse to believe that God can change the world through a child born in a stable. I realise it's maybe a shock, but peace comes from God is a lie, and money will make it happen. I'll tell my children they're not the most important thing in my life, and my employer will know that I have my priorities straight, because material stuff is more important than the truth. I'll tell you this, once upon a time churches proclaimed the truth about Christmas, but this will not be true in my era. This is a quick fix society, and experts tell me 30 years from now I'll be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the end of the church. I do not concede that I will worship in a church built by God. In the future, community breakdown and environmental destruction will be the norm. No longer will it be said that the church cares about its communities and the earth. It will be evident that our church is apathetic and lethargic. It's foolish to presume that there is hope this Christmas. And all of this will come true unless we choose to reverse it. And all of this will come true unless we choose to reverse it. There is hope this Christmas. It's foolish to presume that our church is apathetic and lethargic. It will be evident that the church cares about its communities and the earth. No longer will it be said that community breakdown and environmental destruction will be the norm. Because in the future, I will worship in a church built by God. I do not concede that 30 years from now we'll be celebrating the 10th anniversary of the end of the church. Experts tell me this is a quick fix society, but this will not be true in my ear. Churches proclaim the truth about Christmas once upon a time, and I tell you this, truth is more important than material stuff. I have my priorities straight because my employer will know that they are not the most important thing in my life. I will tell my children, money will make us happy is a lie, and peace comes from faith in God. I realise this may be a shock, but God can change the world through a child born in a stable, and I refuse to believe that I am part of a failing world. What a different way of looking at our lives. Can you imagine living life with that as your backdrop rather than the first bit? You see, when we take the story of Jesus seriously, then actually it can change our lives, change my life. It's changed the lives of folk here at St. John's. It can change your life this Christmas. So the question comes, if I'm asking, can Jesus be born in us this Christmas? Is there room for him in your heart? Is there room for Jesus? Is there space for him to start to change you from the inside out? And that's not an easy thing. But with that as our backdrop, it doesn't matter about, they all influence us, the national issues, our family issues, all that's going on. But as Christians, with that big picture of the kingdom, of God coming to meet us, not keeping distance, if that is our backdrop, then actually our lives can be changed for good. And we can live hope. Do you want something like this Christmas? Yeah. I do. I want more of Jesus in my life. So let's make space this Christmas. We've got to change our hearts, make space for him. Music you're going to sing us a wonderful song. Let this child be born in your heart.